Hey guys, it's Lisa back with another video for Lisa Wise Designs. I'm so excited today. We finally get started on our new kit, and this kit has to do with blocks and a two-sided album. So here's a quick peek of the blocks. So they're all individual. They're hand cut and sanded and stained. My lovely sister did all that for us. And then we're going, probably in a couple of days, we're going to mat it in black. And then we're going to choose our pattern paper. And then in your kit, you're going to get these letters, the M-E-R-R-Y, and then the one word Christmas. And then we'll also, put a couple of embellishments on there. And then when you flip it over, let's see if I get lucky. Oh. When you flip it over, it's gonna say Happy Thanksgiving. And of course, if you wanted to, you could glue these down together, but I think it's fun to still have them in the block form. So you're also gonna get the H-A-P-P-Y and the Thanksgiving, and then the little stickers, embellishments there. So let's take a look at the book that goes with it so you can see this is going to complement it because it's from the same paper line. And we open this up, or take this out here, and these little two tags. Isn't this paper beautiful? Look at that little fox. I love it. And we can put a photo here in the flap. I was buying my granddaughter some little bitty toys this weekend, and it had all like the little trendy animals in it, and the fox was still in there. It had a fox and a sloth and a unicorn. I'm like, okay, well, that's still in then. And then when you open it, put this here on the blocks. I put a sticker here that says autumn, and this is going to be an envelope that velcros open like so. Here. Cute. And in this bear with a little picnic basket, adorable, and it goes along with the pattern paper behind it. So this has got a magnet in it, so your flaps open like so. And then back here you have got a large tag to put a 4x6 photo, and then I made a miniature file folder. Isn't this cute? You could put 4 photos on here, or you could do like I did and just kind of use a combination of photos, places, and that beautiful pattern paper. So I'm gonna close this up. Then I'm gonna turn it over, and now it's Christmas. So it kind of mirror images it. So there's a flap for a photo. Here's the little cute tag here. It says, may your days be merry and bright. And you can put a photo on the back of that one. It's got Santa Claus. I just love Rudolph and Santa. And it is Rudolph, right? He's got a little red nose. So when you open up, it also, like I said, this is a mirror image. It's going to have the envelope with a flap down here. So you can choose how many photos you want to go in here. It'll hold up to 20 photos. Or like I say, if you want to show more pattern paper, you can do that. So you can kind of look and see how many photos you have if you want to, or you can just plan ahead and just kind of have a snapshot, so to speak, of the little, or sampler, I guess is what I'm trying to say, of your holiday season. So when it comes time for Thanksgiving, I'm going to put these blocks up on a table. And I got this little acrylic stand. It's very cheap. It came from Office Depot, I think, or Office Max. And I'm going to put my book here with the Thanksgiving side like that. So that's hard for you to see, so I'm going to do it like this. And then when Christmas comes, I'm just going to flip it over, both of them, and don't have to put it away when I do my Christmas decorations. So much fun. So today we're going to get started on building the album. So if you're interested in having a kit with everything you just saw in it, from your cardstock to your pattern paper to the embellishments and stickers, there is a link to my Etsy shop below this video in the details section, and you'll get a kit. Or if you just want to make that two-sided album and just want the tutorial, you can pick that up. Just a few more days. I was going to say left at the sale, but by the time this goes up, the sale will be over. So here's the blocks that come in there. You're going to get 6 blocks. We won't need those for a day or two in this video series. You're going to get 6 tags. 2 large, 2 medium, 2 small. I'm gonna put those in a little container here. And then you get some 4x6 index cards to hold your spot for photos if you choose to do that. And then as as always, I like my little drawer insert here. I've got my 4 colors of ribbon that comes in your kit. I've got some little foam squares that came in my kit, and then I've got these 4 magnets, so don't lose those. Also in your kit, you get this little package here, and in the package is those letters that say Happy Thanksgiving, Merry Christmas. And they'll cut off the crickets. They're black cardstock. So I would just keep them in here until you're ready for them. Also in this package, so that you did not lose them, was 2 Velcro dots. I went ahead and took mine out. And there's also these teeny tiny black little sparkly things, just little blings. So I'm just going to put those in here so I don't lose them. And then the rest of what's left in here is my letters. So I'm just going to put this back in here till I need it. Put that out of the way. You get a couple of templates. This is that envelope flap that you saw. This is the envelope flap itself, and this is going to be the mat. So to get started, I went ahead and cut out my templates. So you'll want to do that. Same thing here, if you're going to make the mini file folder along with me, then you just cut out the template right there. So I've got mine done. I've got to move these over here. I don't lose them. As always, you get a cutting guide that's got full color pictures in it of what I'm doing, or you can follow along with the video, and I like to do both, right? And I'll kind of tell you where I am in the step process as we go along. And then there's full color pictures in the back of kind of how I finished up everything. So that I find to be very helpful when I'm working along with someone. I'll move up and get to this, and I will show you what else I have done to get started. Oh, very important, the pattern paper. You get a half a sheet of this because you needed a little bit more. But then, look at this, isn't this cute? It's by Echo Park, Fall is in the Air. I think it's absolutely beautiful. This is my favorite piece, this little plaid. The pumpkins, all the little animals, of course, are so cute. And then that red lattice work looking, and some 4x6 cut aparts. Okay, some smaller fall symbols here of leaves and acorns and green dots. There's some big acorns and some brown paper and some big leaves. And then there's that sheet again that you had another half of first. So that's the fall paper collection. And then here is the Christmas one. This is Echo Park by Lori Whitlock. It's the story of Christmas. And this first one has all different kinds of snowmen, and then red and green on the back, and red and green dots with some more Christmas stockings and mittens. And then it's got this whole sheet of wood grain, which is so beautiful, with the snowflakes. Oh, and then on the back, I grew up watching Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, so I just love this paper. It's got Santa and it's got Rudolph here. So I kind of make that real prominent in my album. And maybe you want to do the same, or maybe you want to choose something else. This is kind of hard to see with the harsh light that I have. I sit right by a really big bay window. I'm going to try to shut that just a little bit. And it's red and white striped like candy cane. And here's your 4x6 cut aparts here. Green and kind of an off-white, all kind of sayings. Holly jolly, joy, merry and bright, cheer, so pretty, happy new year. There's some really pretty ornaments. And all these coordinate. This is from the same set. This is holly with green and red, and there's a coordinating red pattern. And there's our Santa and our reindeer, or Rudolph, because he does have a red nose. And there's the back of those. So this is red and white swirly that looks just like the candy. And this is some really pretty stripe here too. And then here is the stickers. So you get the coordinating sticker pack, or sticker sheet, sorry, for both. That comes with it. So I put those in the back because we will not be using that for a little bit. And let's see what else. Of course, you got your black cardstock. There's 12 sheets in here, I do believe. I've got all mine cut and labeled and scored. Cut, scored, and labeled in that order. And that's what you'll want to do. You just want to go through the cutting guide. And so your A through E is here. So you want to cut those and score it. And we'll do one together just in case you're new to this. And then, let's see, what page? Hold on, sorry. So then on page 5, it kind of continues with the inside pieces. So F, G, and I are here, and then the H is one of your templates. So I went ahead and cut these two. I cut my F, G, and I just because I had everything out, was watching TV, and I went ahead and did those. So this is everything I had cut. I've got mine cut and labeled, like I said. I have 2 sheets left. So as you're cutting, just be sure to look at your scraps and make sure that you don't have a piece big enough to cut, you know, what the next thing is on the cutting guide. But this is what I had left over. I kept everything that's an inch wide or bigger. I don't keep little slivers, but if it's an inch or so wide, I do keep those. I'm gonna keep all these because we're gonna need them to mat some stickers, you know, well, I know we're going to also need this to mat our blocks later on. So we got plenty of scraps to do those few items. And then I also had 2 full sheets left, and this is what I'm going to use to do my file folders as my mat. But if you needed those sheets in case you cut wrong or you just wanted to make another element and you don't have 2 sheets of black left when you're done, don't fear, just use a piece of your pattern paper to cut out your file folders. If you don't have enough of that, you can always grab something out of your stash. Any kind of dark black or green or red, anything that coordinates will be fine. So don't panic about that, because it's happened to me too, where you cut one thing wrong and then you're like, oh, what am I gonna do now? Disaster. Okay, so here's my A all the way through here. I went ahead and did one of my flaps too. So I would only do one on camera through my I piece. So I'm just gonna show you, just in case you are new to this process of cutting and scoring, what you would do and what my directions mean. So for the sake of this, I'm flipping over to page 5 on the cutting guide, and I'm gonna be cutting out or scoring G. So G is 2 pockets. So you cut 2 pieces at 3 by 7 3/4. So I have those done. This one's already scored. You can kind of see that here. So let's say I needed to score this one. I'm gonna grab my scoreboard, and now I need, come on, where are you? Here we go. Here's my stylus. So my directions say score on the 7 3/4 side. So that means I'm gonna put my paper long ways where I see 7 3/4. It touches it. It's not this way. When it says score at 7 3/4, it's touching 7 3/4. I know I've got it in there correctly. And it says score at 1/2 inch. So I'm just gonna hold it up to this corner and come down to 1/2 inch. And then it also says to score at 7 1/4. So I'm gonna go over to 7 1/4, put a little pressure, and score there. So then it says score on the 3-inch side. So I'm gonna turn this to, now my paper's touching the 3 up here. It said score it at 1/2 inch. So I'm gonna use my finger and hold this tight and score that all the way down. So now this is going to be a pocket eventually. So that's what it means when it tells you to score on those certain sides. So the rest of it I already have done. Okay, I'm just gonna kind of put all this back together in my little stack over here. And now that we've got all of page 1 and the cutting on page 5 done, I'm going to flip over on page 2 and start from there. Okay, now we're gonna start putting together our album. So you're going to need, let me get my stuff ready, sorry. I am going to use, here's all my tapes I use the most often. I like to use 3/8 of an inch most of the time. This is my 3/8. And Mamie started carrying this size in her store, and I thought that I would check this one out. I believe it's right at 3/8. I think I'll use that one. So it's very helpful to use a double-sided tape of some type. That's anything that's less than 1/2 inch. You don't really want to use 1/2 inch because it will be exactly the same size as your scores, and that's very easy to get off. And then I use something to cut my tape with. I just use a stamping block. You're going to grab one of your piece A's. For the sake of you watching me, what I have done is I have labeled mine A and then A number 2. And then you're going to grab your B piece. So at the top of page 2, it says apply tape on the back of the A piece. So since I scored this and the indentations are going down, that's the front. So wherever I'm scoring, that's the front of my sheet. I'm gonna flip it over where it's bumpy. This is the back. So this is my back of my A piece. All right, so on that back of the A piece, between the first score line and the cut edge, I'm going to apply tape. So you want to get it as close to the cut edge without going over as possible. We want to stay away from that score line. So I'm just going to go all the way across, grab my stamping block and pull up. There we go. And now I'm just going to burnish that on. And be sure to leave open the spot between those, the first and the second score line. That is going to be your gusset. So now what we're going to do is we're going to adhere piece B onto A, and we're just going to touch it to that first score line. We're not going to go over it. We're going to kiss it, I like to say. So let me see. You can use all kind of different things, a pokey tool to get your tape backing off, whatever works well for you. I'm going to take tape backing off, and I'm going to pick up piece B. I'm going to place it straight over onto this back of piece A, buttoning it up right to the first score line. Trying to get it on as straight as possible. It's never going to be perfect, but I'm trying to get it as straight as I can. Now, I'm going to turn it over and I'm going to work those two score lines. And the paper that we're using is 65-pound paper. It's a little bit light, if you notice that. Some people love it, some people do not. But once we add all the layers to it, it's going to be very substantial. Right now it feels light. But I promise you, when we're done, it's very substantial. If you start with 80 and we add as many layers as we're going to, it's going to be a little bit more difficult to work with. So that's why we're doing that. Okay, so that piece is done. I am in the middle of page 2. What we're doing now is we're going to flip the album over. So now I have got to the back of P. Oh, hang on. Yes. Let me add some marks here. We're going to flip the album over. Now we've got the back. This is my back of B. There we go. We're going to adhere piece B onto the second A piece. So here's my A number 2. We're going to do the exact same thing. So A number 2, I'm going to flip it over. So here's the back of A number 2. I'm going to do the same thing I did. I'm just going on the back of A number 2. I'm going to be putting tape as close to the cut edge as I can, not going up to that first score line. Sorry. I guess I ate and now I'm like in a food coma right after lunch. I'm like, whoo, I need a nappy poo. So I got, we started here with the back of A and B, so I flipped B over, so now I'm on the back of B, and this is how we're going to put this one together. We're going to take the tape backing off. This back of B now is going to go as close to that score line as possible. There we go. Okay, so this first one is going this way. So the one that we just did now is going to be going in the opposite direction because this is a two-sided album, so it may look a little funny. So I'm just working those two score lines I just did here. So this is what you should have when you're done. It's going to kind of look like, let's try to get a little light in here. It's going to kind of look like the letter Z. Like this, but you can see that you've got your gusset here and a gusset here. There we go. And then there is probably a better picture on the bottom of page 2 than what I might can do here on camera. But there it is. It looks like a Z, and then you've got where my fingers and thumbs are, you've got your gussets. That's what it looks like. So as you can see, mine is off a hair, here. So all I'm going to do is retrain my paper. So when I'm putting it on, I probably did not get it exactly straight. So what I would do there is I'm going to put it straight here and rework my score line. I'm going to get mine straight. Rework the score line where it's a little bit straighter. Once I have the gusset, that one's better. I'll flip this over to see when I fold it together how it's coming off a little bit. So on that first score line on A, I'm just going to line up my paper here top to bottom. I'm just going to take my burnishing tool or my bone folder. Just going to train my paper to do exactly what I want it to do. So now when I stand it up, it's a lot straighter. Like I say, I try to get it on as straight as I can, but you know, nobody's perfect and none of these tools are perfect. So let me see. Let's go on to page 3. This goes together really quickly. So this we can put aside for the moment. You're going to grab your piece C that you cut. So you've got a square and you have scored it on all 3 sides. I can get a little bit, I changed my my mat, as you can tell. It is a lot brighter color because I like to work with black a lot. I was hoping this would show up a little better, so maybe we will see. Here we go. On this C piece. Let me get, there we go. So all I'm going to do on C is I'm going to go all the way around from the score line to the cut edge and just simply put my tape as close to the cut edge as possible. And that's kind of the theme when we start putting books together, right? Most of the time, your tape goes very close to the cut edge away from that score line. There's always exceptions to the rule, and there's sometimes we put it on the front and sometimes we put it on the back, and that just depends on how I'm folding the paper, how I want it to lie. And that's personal preference too. If you decide to put the tape on the other side, some people think when they fold it, it makes more sense to do that. So anyway, there is C. Now we're going to cut C on the diagonal. Grab my paper trimmer here. I'm going to try to just one more time, see if I can kind of get this a little bit brighter. Okay, here we go. So I'm going to put C in my cutting trimmer, and so here is where it's going to be cutting, right down there. So I'm going to put the top corner piece and then right across from it in a diagonal. I'm just going to line them up right there in that spot where it cuts. Okay, and you can see a good picture of this on the middle of page 3. I'm going to start with my blade in the center and push down and go up and then go back. Okay, so now I've got 2 perfect, well, not so perfect, triangles. Okay, that here. So now at the bottom of 3, it shows you what you've got, and then it kind of shows you how we're going to miter. Now, I use mitering a lot when I am making pockets, and this is going to be the pocket that goes on the front of the album. So right down here, you can see where your score lines intersect, and we call that an X, where they intersect. I'm going to take my scissors, and I'm going to cut a triangle out, and I'm going to go right over where those 2 score lines meet. I'm going to try to hit right where those 2 score lines meet, and you can see the piece that I cut off. You know, it's about an inch. It's about an inch by an inch by looking here. So it's pretty substantial. Do the same thing on the other. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold on those score lines to the back. The whole point of this is where you don't have this overlapping, and so I did a pretty good job here. I'm gonna turn this back over, and like I say, you've got some pretty good pictures on page 3 and 4. So now I'm kind of on the top of page 4, where it's showing you've got these big hunks hanging out here. So what I do is I just follow that same line and just trim them off. It's just easier that way, just to follow your line and just make your triangle now where those are not sticking out. So number 2, we'll do the same thing. Fold to the back. Make sure I don't have a lot of overlap. Turn it back over. Then I'm gonna clean this up by just following the same angle like that. So now all you see is triangle and not all this extra hanging open, just like that. Okay, so here's our C pieces. So grab your book. So on the front of your album, we're going to be placing one of these C pieces down in the bottom right hand corner. In order to do that, it's easier to open the album. So on the front of my piece A, I am going to be putting this down right here. I'm just going to dry fit it, take a look at it. Looks great. Okay. Move this off. Just going to kind of move it just because it's easier for me here to get in here. And I like to line up the bottom corner first and then start placing down. Burnish that into place, and I've got a little bit of a pucker there, which is exactly what I wanted. So that looks good. And I'm just going to do, on most steps, like this is a mirror image album, I'm going to be doing the exact same thing. So I'm going to take my album, I'm going to flip it over, so now I can see A number 2, and I'm going to do the same thing there. But I'm going to open it up just so it's easier. Like I said, you'll be seeing me do a lot of the same steps twice, and it's easier on some things to do it one time and then do it a second time and to come back and repeat all of it. I'm not sure if we'll do that on our matting, maybe on some of them. And I did do that on some of my matting as I was going through. It was easier for me once I figured out the cut to just cut, you know, the fall paper out of that and then go and do the Christmas. And then some it wasn't so much. Okay, so I'm gonna flip back over to where it says A. So now we are in the middle of page 4, and now we've got D and E pieces. So these are the flaps that's going to be on the front cover of the album. It's going to be these flaps. Now, if you're going to use 3x4 cards, that is what the D size is. I sized this E piece for my Christmas side to match this sticker exactly. So just think about that. If you're going to put this sticker on here, which you can look at your sticker pack, it is the wood grain frame, and I did the center part to it. So, but if you wanted to do another 3x4 card on both sides, just cut 2 D pieces because it's about 1/4 inch different. I just wanted to say that in case you get all the way through this and realize that they're 2 different sizes. Okay, where's my tape start here? Here we go. So, on the top of both D and E, I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna put our tape as close to the cut edge as I can get. It's just pretty good tape. It was a good price too. I think she got some more in stock here recently. I'm not sure why it's so difficult to get product. Well, I guess I do now. No, it's been quite the year. All right, so on my A, I said I'm going to open it back up again just because it's easier to work, and this is the cover. I'm going to take the D piece, since we're going alphabetical order. I'm going to fold the tape to the back. Then I'm going to get a pencil. Clean up a little here, everything's falling. And this is going to tell you on the bottom of page 4, I'm going to draw a little line 1 inch over from the first score line. Just going to make a mark there. So if I were to look at the front cover, from right where the front cover started, over about 1 inch, it doesn't have to be exact, but that is where I'm going to put this flap. I'm going to put it straight at the top, so it's flush at the top, but then the left side is right there on that mark. I know when I'm following along the class, when they say just kind of put it about, I really kind of want to know what about means. And then I can measure, and then I can adjust if I want to. So I'm just going to kind of get it flush as best I can here with the top. And then the left side is where that mark was. All right, so guess what? We're going to do the same thing. I'm going to close my album, turn it over. So now I'm on A number 2, and this one's going to be the Christmas one. Here's that E piece. I'm going to fold it to the back. come over about 1 inch, so I'm gonna go ahead and mark it. And put this on. So the tags that we put in the pocket when we get to that point is what's gonna hold these flaps into place when you're not looking at them. So that's one reason why I kind of had a place in mind where I wanted them to be, so that that mechanism worked, right? That's actually to work when we go to put these here, those two sizes, then it's going to hold this down. So here's the two sizes, the middle one and the small one, just like that. So that's what's going to keep that from flapping around. For now, as we're going through, we'll probably use some paper clips for that. Look at there, we're through 4 pages already. So at the bottom of page 5, it tells you to go ahead and cut everything that's going to go on the inside of your album. And I did that ahead of time. So you're just not sitting here watching me cut. So now we're on to the top of page 6, and it tells you to take your envelope flap, this template, and cut both of these out. And now we're going to cut the actual envelope out. Okay, so once you've got everything cut, then you're going to use the leftovers here to cut your flap out. So here's mine. There's 2. Right, there's a bigger one and a smaller one. The smaller one, of course, drop mine, of course, is your mat. I'm gonna put that one back in here until we get to the pattern paper. So this is what you're looking for here. This is the part you're gonna cut out. This is the flap, so I'm gonna look for a piece of paper that's big enough for my leftovers to cut, so that's perfect. All right. I'm gonna grab some paper clips. I have these real big ones I found from American Crafts. I actually found mine at Tuesday Morning one time. They have something similar at Michael's. They're just a little bit different. I don't think they're quite as thick, which is fine. So what I did is I paper clipped this straight edge all the way to the left-hand side so that I don't have to worry about cutting that side. And almost to the very bottom, because the bottom is kind of rounded, so I didn't go quite all the way to the bottom. I'm kind of hold it in place even though I've clipped it, and just gonna hold down that little tip there, come around and just draw it out just like that. You're gonna do that 2 times because you need 2 flaps, one for the front of your book and then one for the back, so basically Christmas and Thanksgiving. And we're simply going to cut it out. It should be pretty easy, okay, to cut out. A little rounded. Yes, and I decided to be kind to you to give you a mat because I tell you sometimes that can be the frustrating part, is trying to cut it down, especially if it's not straight lines, to get a mat that goes well without cutting it 2 or 3 times, and you don't want to waste your pattern paper at all. That's pretty easy peasy. A little eraser out. I just about used the eraser off my pencil. All right, so I did that twice. Oh, here it is. All right, so here's the one that I already did. You can see it's got a score line, and this one's the one we just did. So I'm going to grab my scoreboard back out. And all I'm going to do is place the straight line on the left-hand side and all the way up to the top as far as it will go, and just kind of hold that in place. And I'm going to once again grab my embosser, and I'm going to go up to or over to 1/2 of an inch. I'm just going to go slow since this is a weird shape, and just form my flap just like that. So now I have 2 of these, and these are my H pieces now. So I'm going to put those out of the way. So we should basically have what we need to move on with the inside. So with these little flaps, just gonna go ahead and put my tape on. Since we're folding to the back, I'm putting the tape on the front. And you see how I got all wonky? But at least it did not go over my score line, so I'll be fine. It did wrinkle it up, but that's really the liner that wrinkled, so it's okay. I'm not gonna worry about it. It happens. Go ahead and get all these ready. There's that, okay, and so then, let's see where we are. We're at the bottom of page 6. It says to get your 4 F pieces, and we're going to apply tape on the front, just like we've been doing, close to the cut edge as possible on all 4 of these. Oh my goodness. I guess Latte's like, okay, it's been 30 minutes or so. You haven't spoke to me, so now I'm going to come and stand at the door. I put up a baby gate where she can't come into this spare bedroom that I use as an office because it has carpet. She can't distinguish carpet from potty pad. I'm not sure why. Most of the rest of the house is hardwood, and she will not go to the bathroom there, but she sure will on carpet. I don't know if that's a Dotson thing or a Latte thing. All right, so there's my 4 F pieces. Now I'm going to look at page 7, and we're going to go back to those G pieces that we did at the top of this video that were going to be pockets. So I'm going to do those 3 sides that have score lines. Well, I don't know if it's my technique today or if it's this tape. I usually don't wrinkle my tape quite that much. So when I pulled that up, I pulled up a little bit of piece of my cardstock. So maybe I should slow down a little bit. So I'm going to go around all 3 sides. This is going to become my pocket. Man, I did a bad job on that one. It'll be okay. Nobody will ever know. No one's going to grade me on my on my neatness of my tape, what they'll never see. I don't know why once I turn the video on, I want to go faster than when I normally craft. I do that in classes too, I think. I think I start talking and crafting faster. Maybe I don't want to waste people's time. I don't know. Okay, so there's our 2 G pieces. So I'm going to miter the corners, the bottom corners of the G pieces like we did, right where those score lines meet. I'm going to cut out a triangle, and I'm going to try to hit right where the 2 score lines meet. And then once you fold on the score lines where the tape now shows on the back, you should not have an overhang or overlap, and this one does, so I did not do a very good job. So I'm just going to take another run at that one. Just going to make my angle a little bit bigger. Yeah, that's much better. So that one's good. That to the side. Oh, I was going to say I started to fold before I cut. And there's many ways you can make pockets. I've seen lots of different YouTubers and lots of crafters do it in different ways. Some of them cut out the box on the bottom, and it all works. It's just how you like to do it, the technique that you're used to. There we go. It's a little better. All right, so there are my G pieces. And then for the envelope bottom part, this is going to be what your eye pieces are. So on the top of your eye pieces, we're going to do the same technique, put tape close to that cut edge. And after this, we will be ready to start assembling. There we go. at the bottom of 7. I'm going to go back and get my skeleton here of my album. First, I'm going to clean up my mess. I need my pencil again. It's amazing how quickly you can make a mess on your desk and run out of room. So, I'm going to paper clip my little flip flaps down just so they're not in my way as I'm moving forward. All right, so with now I can call this the Christmas side and the fall side, because D is fall and that E piece was Christmas, and I actually wrote those on there. So that's how I'm going to refer to it going forward throughout this until we start getting some pattern paper on here. So on your fall side is what I'm going to start with. Your album is closed here. I'm going to open it up. So on the back of A, so on the left-hand side, I'm going to start putting some flaps. So I'm going to take my ruler. First, I'm going to turn this where I can get to it a little better. And I'm going to come down about 3/8 of an inch. And I'm just going to make a horizontal line like this. And I'm going to do the same thing here. So if you want to see a picture of what I just did, it's at the bottom of page 7. I've got it highlighted like with the red arrows. So there's 3/8 of an inch from the top and the bottom. And let me get my pieces back in line here. Here we have these 4 F pieces, so grab 2 of those. Go ahead and fold on the score line to the back on both. Okay, I'm going to move on over to page 8. And now, taking one of these F pieces, with it folded with the tape down, I'm going to put this right where those 2 marks are. But I'm going to go all the way to the edge. I want this to be, flush with the left edge. But to help me center top to bottom, I've got those marks. And they may not be exact, but they will help you, kind of get as close as you can to getting this centered. So once we get one done, the second one will be a breeze. I'm just going to turn mine around just to make it a little easier for me to see. And I want to get pretty close to those marks. Right, so now this is what it looks like. Here's my flap when it opens. That pretty close to my marks here. Burnish. There we go. See, just about don't have any erasing left. I need to make sure I keep that little eraser out here. All right, so still continuing on page 8. It's a little bit difficult to see in the pictures. I'm kind of walk you through it. And once I tell you this, it'll make perfect sense. Instead of trying to do that 3/8 of an inch again and get it right, because I might not have put this one on exactly straight, I'm going to fold this one down. I'm going to pull this back up and put this under it, right? And then this one that's folded to the back is going to go on the right-hand side, almost touching the first score line. So instead of making 3/8 of an inch marks here, what you want to do is kind of line up that second piece right underneath the first where they line up together. And then I'm going to make a little mark. And that should make it super easy for you to put it back down. That makes sense? So I close this flap we just did. I put the second piece with the tape, already folded, tape's on the bottom, and I just put it underneath it and then lined it up. Just make sure top to bottom they're lined up, and I'm going to go all the way to the first score line. I'm not going to mess with my gusset. And then I made a mark. And so here is my mark here. It might be a little tough to see. There, that's a little better. Okay? Maybe now that I went through that, that will make a little more sense. Sometimes pictures are better to see, sometimes it's the video. That's why I kind of like to do both. And I'm going to turn my book in all kind of different ways just to make it easier. And I'm going to kiss up to that first score line without going over it, because I still need it to fold easy. And then burnish it down. And then I push this flap back over it. It should be fairly close, if not exact. So where these now line up on top of each other. Okay. At least I open it first and then try to erase. It would make more sense. Okay. That makes sense? Easy? That wasn't bad, was it? Okay, so now I'm going to go over to the Christmas side. So now I have this turned where Christmas flap is open, and I'm going to open it up. So now this is the back of A2, and we're just going to do the exact same thing. We just did the fall side. Now we're going to do the Christmas side. So I'm going to go back and get these F pieces and fold both of those flaps to the back. On the left-hand side, I'm just going to do the exact same steps. I'm going to come down 3/8 of an inch and come up 3/8 of an inch. Make my marks right there and there. And I'm going to put this piece flush to the left-hand side. So really all we've got left after this is to put on a pocket and do our envelopes. So this really is a fun, but but pretty quick album. It's the matting and the embellishments that's going to take us the longest, which is the fun part, really. So I was off a teeny tiny bit on that one, but it's okay. You're never going to compare the front one to the back one. As long as these match up, nobody will ever know. So I'm just going to close that back down, put the second one under it, try to line those up top to bottom, and then make me a mark. And there we go. I hope when we're done that you love this little album. It was so much fun to design. The blocks, I need to give props to my friend Bridita Giles. We did something very similar to this in one of her workshops at her house last year, and I just loved it. So I really wanted to do something similar to that, but I really wanted to make an album to go with it. And one day, while I was thinking in the shower, it just dawned on me, make a two-sided album. You made two-sided blocks. So anyway, all right, there's that. Now I started back here on the fall side again. And let's see where we are. We're at the top of page 9. So where we put these little flaps, I'm going to go back over and open those flaps, and we're going to put our pockets down. So using your piece G, we already got it cut and mitered. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put it in the center here, right between the two flaps, about 1/8 of an inch from the very bottom. So I'm not going to go all the way down to the bottom. I'm going to come up about 1/8 of an inch. So it's going to be probably right between where the flaps are and the bottom of the project, because, and I'll tell you why I'm doing this, when we cut our pattern paper, I'm going to cut my pattern paper to cover the full part of G here at the bottom. You're going to have 1/8 of an inch here, but it's going to go all the way to the bottom here. So the 1/8 of an inch for your eye to see the mat going around is actually, excuse me, is actually going to be the bottom of the album. I think that will make sense later. Oh, why don't I just show you here? Let me open this up. See, my matting here, the top of is 1/8 of an inch, you can see, but the paper goes all the way to the bottom of the pocket, but the 1/8 of an inch you see at the bottom is the actual album. Maybe that will help. Here, okay. And you probably don't even care about knowing that, but I like to tell things like that as I go to make sense of, because sometimes when I'm watching somebody, I'm like, well, I don't like that, I'm just gonna go ahead and do it. And then later I'm like, oh, well, that's why they did it. She should have told me that. She should have told me that to begin with. All right, so once again, I'm going to kind of center this between these two flaps. I'm going to put it right on top of the flaps. But the bottom, I'm going to make sure I'm about 1/8 of an inch from the bottom. Just going to eyeball this one. But I don't go flush to the bottom. But I did get crooked. So, well, I guess this is a good time to show you this trick. If you don't have undo in your supplies, you need it. If you work with tape, so see, it's just pulling that, or that tape's coming right up. without pulling on my album. And what's going to happen, it smells like alcohol. It's very strong, but as it dries, I can use that tape again, and it did not pull my album. Now, Undo does not work, unfortunately, on glue, only on tape. That's another reason why it's really good, this file folder here, to use tape on this, because I do not want to start over. There we go. Now it's completely dry, and I'm going to try to get it this time a little more straight. There we go. I did a better job. Sometimes it's hard to talk and glue at the same time. There we go. Now I'm satisfied with that. And I still got a really good stick. Like I say, once it completely dries or evaporates, you're still good. So this is the one I use. I know there's lots of different ones on the market, and it's pretty old, the bottle I have. Anyway, and then this little tool comes with it to help get in there. And it will make you high. So I'm just going to put those two flaps together and turn my book over to the Christmas side and open it up. Here's the two flaps on this side of it, the back of A2. I'm just going to do the same thing. I'm just going to try and eyeball where I want this to go. Maybe I should make a mark here. Maybe that would have helped me. But like I say, I think it's because I get to talking. And even in college and most of my life at work, I can't do a lot of detail work with noise. Me and my roommate in college, thank goodness, was the same way. We had to study with no music, while everybody else, it seemed, around us had to have music. Okay. So I just won't talk through that one. There we go. That was better. And one of the ladies that works for me now as an accountant, she always has earphones in. She says it helps her to stay focused because she doesn't get distracted about what's going on in the office. And she is very productive. I give it to her. She's not like she's not getting her work done, but I can't do it. I cannot do it. Okay, so all that's left to do now is to do our envelope. So I'm back on the fall side. Looks like I got something there. Open it back up. All these were my little flaps in the pocket. So on the right hand side, we're going to do the envelope. So I'm just going to open this flat just so it makes it life a little easier as I'm trying to concentrate on this. So my flaps are closed here. And so this is basically the center of the album. This is the B. I'm going to get one of my eye pieces and fold that down. So it's going to be coming up from the bottom. And I think this was the H piece, but anyway, this was our flap. I'm going to fold it toward the back, and this, of course, is going to be here at the top. So I'm going to do my flap first and bring this to me where I can see really well. So I'm just going to make sure it's in the center of B, the center of the very first score line. So make sure you know where your score lines are, and you're just going to center this between those. It's going to give you maybe a 1/16 of an inch between. There's not a whole lot of room, but it will not go over. All right. See how my liner was all crinkly, but the tape is pretty flat, even though it's a little bit different colors. So sorry to do this, but I gotta turn this over where I can see what I'm doing. So I'm at the top of the B piece. I'm going to center this between the first two score lines to the best of my ability. There we go. And flush to the top at the best of my ability here. There we go. A little bit of my tape showing at the bottom because, like I said, I went over the edge, which I should not have, but that's okay. Pattern paper is going to cover that up later. So as I fold this, I'm just making sure I did not go over those score lines because just black on black I know is difficult to see. So I'll get my eyepiece. So before I forget why it's a little easier, let's go ahead and round the corners. That may be in this instruction here. Does it say? I think it says after you did it on the right page and here, yeah, at the bottom, then round your corners. But why do that in the middle of 9? So I'm using the We Are Memory Keepers, the one that has 1/2 inch and 1/4 inch corner rounder. I'm going to open it up. I'm gonna use the 1/2 inch side. I always try to say that out loud to myself so that when I come back and mat, I remember which I did, the 1/4 or the 1/2 inch. So I went ahead and grabbed the other eyepiece while I have this out. Go ahead and do the same. Just rounded those corners that are opposite from where the tape was. Now I can put that away for now till we come back to our matting. I'm gonna open this flap up. So I'm gonna put my eyepiece down. I'm gonna kind of eyeball center again between those two score lines. You'll see this one's a little bit smaller than the flap, just the way an envelope works. So before I put it down, I'm gonna put my flap down over it and see, is this where I want it? And then adjust it. Do I need to go more to the right or the left for it to look right with the envelope? So just take a minute, look and see if you need to move your paper over more to the right or the left till the envelope looks correct. And then I'm just gonna kind of make a line. Let's make a mark here. And that's not too big of a deal either. I don't think anyone's ever gonna notice, but in case you cut yours a little bit smaller, that might make a difference. And I'm gonna put down this piece. No! Let me bring it closer to my body here. This piece here, flush to the bottom and right on the line. There we go. It's not perfect, but it's not bad either. Let's see what that looks like. That's pretty good. There we go. So now we're back on, we just did fall. Now we're on the Christmas side. I keep thinking there's something there, but that was part of my marks. Okay, so now we're on the back of B, and see I just put this here on the other side of that one, so I'll take it off. That's not gonna be helpful trying to do this. Open it all the way up. I'm just gonna do the same thing. And this is where we're gonna end today. I think we've done a lot of good work today. I feel like a therapist. We've done lots of good work here today. You should be proud. This is very fun. But I think the most fun comes when we're decorating. So I'm going to put this flush at the top between the first two score lines. If I can see, there we go. Pretty good. And once we get our magnets on and Velcro on and tags and stuff in, it won't be all flippity floppity anymore. Throw caution to the wind on this side, and I know kind of where I want it to land. Put that there. Yeah, looks good. Okay. Except that I am trying to make a mess of mine here. Here we go, Lisa. All right. So now this is what it should look like. It's got fall with the flap and the pocket here. When you open it, it's got these two flaps that's gonna have magnets next time and a pocket in the center. And on the other side, it's got your envelope that comes up and down. So when I flip it over, same thing with Christmas. It's got the flap on the front, two big flaps, if I didn't have them closed, and then my envelope here. It's going to be cute. It won't be perfect, but it's going to be cute. Like Mammy says, we don't do perfect. Thank you guys for joining me so far. We're going to pick back up next time at the bottom of page 9. We're going to do our magnets and get started with the fun part, which is going to be decorating. So just start looking at the directions if you have them, and start picking out your pattern paper to see if you want to do something a little different than mine. And so I'll be back here tomorrow at the same time, 11 a.m. Central, and we'll get started back. Thank you guys so much for the support. At the time that I'm filming this, which is on Saturday before it goes live on Monday, I've only have 8 kits left. Thanks for the huge support, but I know they're gonna go fast, so if you want one, I would go and grab them as soon as you can. Okay, see you tomorrow. Thanks, guys. Bye.